Welcome to SUSD Spotlight, your go-to source for all things happening within the district. Whether it's celebrating student and staff achievements, delving into trending education topics, or highlighting inspiring human interest stories, we've got you covered. Join us as we illuminate the incredible endeavors taking place in our schools and forge connections within our community. Get ready to be informed, inspired, and engaged as we embark on this journey together, spotlighting the extraordinary in SUSD.
Well, welcome to another edition of SUSD Spotlight. This one is especially exciting, Dr. Menzel, because this is our 50th episode of SUSD Spotlight.
It's hard to believe that we've recorded 50 exciting episodes highlighting the great things going on in Scottsdale Unified School District.
It's been so much fun to hear from elementary, middle, and high schools, from community leaders, site leaders, and students. What have been some of your favorites?
It's been really exciting for me to hear from students directly, but the podcasts that we've done when we've gone on location, whether it was the Eclipse that we did at Laguna or Ingleside Middle School when we were looking at the INN studio and talking about the forensics class, those kinds of experiences are exciting. When we did Sisters in STEM, the day when the young students were coming in and the high school students were providing those experiences, those were fantastic. I really love hearing from our students, from our teachers, and from our building leaders when they talk about the great things that are happening on their campus. So many times people will drive by a school and have no idea what's happening in those schools. This gives us an opportunity to really shine a bright light on the great things happening in Scottsdale Unified.
Well, earlier this week, you and I had the great pleasure to be out at Cocopah Middle School. Why don't you introduce us to our guests and then tell us a little bit about what that experience was, because it was quite the celebration.
We are really excited to welcome in studio today the principal of Cocopah Middle School, Joe Olney, and the assistant principal, Chris Ambri. And we absolutely do love to hear about what's going on at Cocopah Middle School. But before we jump into the celebration that we were at earlier this week, maybe you can tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and your educational background, and then what brought you to Cocopah Middle School.
Okay, well, I'm Mr. Olney, the proud principal of Cocopah Middle School. And first, I'd just like to say we're honored to be here in the 50th episode, and being the 50th, it's like the middle number to 100. So it's kind
halfway
of
there.
It's like fitting that we're the middle school, and I think we're one of the best middle schools here in Arizona. So it's awesome that we get to be here for the 50th. About my education. I actually grew up here in Arizona, so I went to Cactus High School, and I graduated in 1992. And then I went to ASU, graduated, and then I actually did not start in the education industry. I actually got my degree in business. And I actually was a stockbroker for right around the 2000 years when we had the big market crash. Unfortunately, I lost my job at, I worked for Charles Schwab. And I had to find another job. And I was at home, and I was a substitute teacher. Going back, I was at home just not doing anything. I bought a home, got married, all in 2000. I lost my job as a stockbroker, got married, had a home, had a dog, and then I needed to get another job, but there was no jobs at the time, and at least not in stockbroking. And my wife came over and said, "Why don't you be a substitute teacher? You have a degree and you can make a little money while you're still looking for work." And my first sub job was at Coronado High School.
Okay.
And I subbed for a math class. And I walked in and I just started teaching math, and I love math. It just so happened to be one of my favorite subjects. And when I was done leaving for that day, I don't remember if it was the principal or the assistant principal at the time, but they asked me, "Hey, would you like to be a math teacher?" And that was the first time I ever went home, and I actually looked my wife in the eyes and I said, "I think I want to be a math teacher."
Wow.
And she's like, "You would be great." And then I went back to ASU and said, "What do I need to be a math teacher?" And they said, "Well, oddly enough, you have enough math credits," because I'd rather take a math test than something else. And so I actually had all the math credits, but I just needed to get the 30 educational hours. So I ended up going to Rio Salado Community College and got my, online, got my degree, and then it started my journey. 14 years at Chaparral as a math teacher, and then 4 years back at Coronado where it all started as an assistant principal, and then now I'm the proud principal of Cocopah Middle School.
That's quite a journey.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. This is Chris Ambri. Mine's a little different because I've always been an educator. My sister is a teacher, and we played school, and I mean, just one of those kind of stories.
Right.
And I started in elementary, and then my love of history and all things government and econ and history, and I just love it so much. And so I thought, well, I want to teach that. So I did what needed to be done, taught that in middle school. I even taught a year at the one time I was out of public school, because I'm public school or die, I did teach because it was such a fabulous experience. I taught at an all-girls high school run by Chicanas por la Causa in Phoenix, and that was the most fun. I mean, I don't know, middle school's fun, but it was the most interesting in the sense that I got to teach world history, American history, econ, and government, and work with girls. It just, I can't even describe it. It was the most, I was so lucky to get to do that. But then came back to SUSD because I missed it so much, and turned around and somehow ended up being incredibly blessed to be the AP at Cocopah, because it's just the best place to be.
So how many students do you have at Cocopah now?
Well, the exact number, I can just tell you it's just slightly under 900.
So for parents who don't know anything about Cocopah Middle School, what sets you apart? You said you're the best in Scottsdale Unified, and I think some of your colleagues might want to take you on that assertion. But, for our listeners, what makes Cocopah so special?
That is a great question, and something I thought a lot about. And some people may like this answer, and some people may be like, oh, that's an odd answer. It's amazing that we're actually a little bit of everything. I'll give an example. I'm about ready to go to our track meet right now. That's going to be after this podcast. We have over 100 students that signed up for track. 100. And you say, well, Mr. Olney, you must be a sports school. And we are. But we also have like 240 kids that are in choir. Mm-hmm. Then you'd be like, well, Mr. Olney, you're an arts school. And I'd be like, well, we are. And then pretty much everywhere you point, I would go, wow, we are. Miss Ambri, is all about, history and that kind of stuff. But I love math. I think we have the best math department in the whole district, in my opinion. I'm biased, and I love math. I walk around at lunch, I'm helping kids with math. So you'd say, oh, Mr. Olney, are you at math school? And I'd be like, yes, we are. So I really think we're a little bit of everything, and we have something for everybody. We have over 15 clubs after school. So you would say, well, we're a club school. I'd be like, yes, we are. So we're a little bit of everything.
And what would you say are the biggest challenges and the biggest bright spots when you're educating students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade?
I actually was drawn so much to these grades, because I still think as a child it was the hardest. And as a parent, as my kids are grown now, it was the hardest. And so I love seeing these kids. They go from 6th to 8th. I mean, that's just the biggest change.
They transform.
Ever.
They're the literal
transform.
transformers.
And you're there. And you get to be someone they can lean on, and someone they can come talk to, and someone to offer help. And frankly, I feel the same way for their parents. Mm-hmm. And we have these conversations like, I feel you. I've been there. I got you, and kind of help them through this tough time as well. So in some ways, when you say the bright spots and the challenges, it can be the same thing. It really can be, because so much of it is what your attitude, how do you look at it? And I look at them as my little bright spots all day, every day.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
so
can I piggyback on that?
You can, absolutely.
I'm the crossing guard as well. And I'll never forget my very, very first year at Cocopah, and I'm on the corner doing crossing guard, and I remember some of the 6th graders coming in and seeing how little they are. Mm-hmm. And now this is my 3rd year there, and I see these same kids coming up the crossing guard. They're taller than me. Mm-hmm. And it is amazing just to see how much they grow in such a short amount of time. So it's a special time.
And it takes a special educator to be able to roll with the punches as you deal with the adolescent changes that are taking place before your eyes. So we appreciate your love of students at this age level, because that makes a difference for them as well in creating the kind of learning environment that causes them to want to come to school every day, and it sets them on a path for success. And speaking of that, on Tuesday, we held our cabinet meeting on your campus. It was Earth Day. Something else really special happened. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened on Tuesday?
Yeah, so on Tuesday, on Earth Day, we celebrated the fact that we were just certified to be a Blue Zone school. And it's been quite the journey. Actually, I'll talk a little bit. You're okay if I talk about the journey?
Yes, absolutely.
The journey really started with our nurse. So Nurse Sarah really kind of picked up the ball, and she said, hey, have you looked at this Blue Zone? And I said, I'd heard about it because I just knew other schools had done it too. And I said, hey, if you would like to take this on and go down this journey, I totally 100% support you. Let me know what you need. And she reached out to our APT. And I want to say that the partnership between our school and our APT.
What's an APT for listeners who may not know
Yeah,
those acronyms?
so it's like a parent organization. So our parent organization goes by Cocopah APT, and they really partnered together. They just really, just to see the two come together and to see the community, our school, different departments and different people in our school, especially our cafeteria. I honestly, when I first had that conversation with Nurse Sarah, I didn't expect to see the transformation that I actually saw, and I'm pretty impressed. I overly just excited, and it's even changed me a little bit. I even see myself, like I'll give you just a small example. Like we have clubs that meet after school. Mm-hmm. Well, they're used to bringing pizza. So we had to put that to the stop. And they're like, what do you mean we can't bring pizza to a club meeting after school? I'm like, well, here's the list of what and the list is pretty long. There's a lot of stuff you can choose from. So they've had to adjust. And even me and my own self in my office, I had a little candy jar. Mm-hmm. And kids would come into my office and take candy. So now I've got they're on the approved list of the little, vitamin C, what kind of like fruit chew.
Gummies.
Yeah, gummies, yeah. So I have those little packets now in there. So little small changes like that, but it's all over the campus. We have a beautiful garden where actually what's interesting, the science, it's right by the science wing. And so the science classes can go out there, and there's hummingbirds that come in, there's bees, and we pretty much have everything. Oddly, one thing we don't have jalapenos, so they didn't put the spicy stuff.
Oh.
I know, I have one at home, but we have pretty much everything else. And anything else you can think that would grow really well here in Arizona is pretty much in our garden, and it's really awesome.
So it's such a neat health and wellness initiative, certainly, that we're seeing sort of roll out across many of our campuses now and in our community. But how does this also tie in to the teaching and learning? Because your garden, too, seems to be a classroom in and of itself. Lots of hands-on learning.
It is. And we actually, we have our tiny version of the high school student advisory board. We have a Cocopah student advisory board. We have students from each grade level, and they have been instrumental in Blue Zone. They have helped with the garden. They helped Nurse Sarah. They've made posters. They encourage their friends. In fact, they're all about making Cocopah better from a student, giving the students a voice. So we have suggestion boxes now from the students. Even though it's always, we have our phones.
Like literally all the time.
Every time, but they know, it's, hey, good try. But it's created, there's a snack cart now that we do. That was an idea from the advisory board, ties in with the Blue Zone, and that, it has to be healthy, but also showing that leadership that we have on campus. Our lead is our leadership, empathy, attitude, and determination, and they can earn tickets. And one parent said, and it so resonated with me at the celebration, this has just made the campus come alive. Mm-hmm. We've got flowers in more places. We've got students that understand gardening and that can use it as part of their teaching and learning. And it's been the best journey, and we're not done.
So you didn't bring the kids along kicking and screaming. They actually were willing participants.
Well, other than the pizza part.
Yeah, the pizza. Yeah.
But they're on board.
Dr. Menzel and I both reflected after being at the celebration, too, in how engaged the students were, especially when they heard from the other students. Like when your choir performed.
Yes.
That was the part where you really saw the middle school kids engaged in listening. And I thought that says a lot about Cocopah. Having all the parents there, the community partners, and then having the kids really hear each other, I thought was pretty cool. You mentioned lead. Is that something that you see in your students, and is that just indicative, like you said, we're a place for everything?
No, I think that actually that mantra, lead to succeed, that does seem to kind of sum up Cocopah. We strive to lead, and leadership, empathy, attitude, and determination, and that's we talk about it all the time. And it's in every category. So that kind of goes back, what is Cocopah about? Really pick what you're about, and that's what we lead in.
Mm-hmm. So if parents are interested in learning more about Cocopah, how would they go about reaching out to you?
Well, they can go on our SUSD website and click on the button that's right there when they go on the Cocopah website and ask for a tour. But honestly, they can just email me. I've got an open door policy, and most people that have emailed me know that. Like I'll meet them anytime, or they can go on the website and just ask for a tour. Our counselors run the tours, most of them. But if anybody just wants to even have a meeting with me, or Miss Ambri, we both have an open door policy at all times.
And we also have a fabulous musical this Friday. So come out and see our musical Xanadu at 6:30, and that would show the campus as well.
Saturday at 11.
And is there a charge for that?
$5.
Okay, great. That's affordable.
Money well spent.
Great entertainment. and your performing arts program is fantastic at Cocopah.
Those
and our
shows are
theater
really
department is
They're
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Our theater teacher.
Oh, and I just found out we got the $5,000 scholarship from Charos to help our theater department.
Oh,
Nice.
very cool.
So,
Congratulations. Yeah, another great community partner, stepping up to support the school.
We love to shine a spotlight on our schools and their successes, and it's been so nice to celebrate the Blue Zone's approval that you achieved and the other great things that are happening on your campus. At the end of every podcast, I like to ask my guests to think about a teacher, someone in your educational journey who made a difference in your life. I think in this day and age, so often our teachers work really, really hard, but don't always get the recognition they deserve. And I think it's great if you can identify someone who made a difference on your educational journey.
Yeah, so this goes back to second grade. It was my second grade teacher, and she was teaching us. She handed out these packets, and it was simple enough. All you had to do is write 1, 2, 3, all the way to 100, and then to 1,000. It was one packet to 1,000, and I did it. I handed in a whole 1,000, and I slapped it down. And she gave me a little, like a certificate with a little sticker on it. And she said, "There's the next one." And I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." And I'd walk over and I grabbed it, and it was 2,000. And so you started at 2001 and went all the way to 2,999. I made it to 24,000.
Wow.
And I got 24 of those certificates. I still have them to this day.
You've always been a numbers guy.
I
clearly.
loved it. I absolutely just loved it. So I would say, her name was Miss Locklear, and it was just, for her, I'm sure she was scratching her head going, "When's he going to stop?" She's probably looking around. Do I have another certificate for this guy? And I totally beat the whole class. Like everybody was like, I think the other kid, maybe somebody made it like 12,000. But I just kept going. I just loved it for everybody. My mom was even like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I had a system down. I was just like. But no, I think the reason I just enjoyed it, she always had a smile on her face when I was turning it in. She was always positive. She always had another certificate with a cool little sticker. It had one of those, remember the stickers where you could scratch it and you could smell it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The scratch and
It was
sniff?
a scratch and sniff, and it was little certificates with scratch and sniff, and she had a different one every single time. So I don't know where she got 24 different ones, but she did.
Sometimes it's little things, but it can spark that love of learning
Yeah.
and help the student identify what their particular passion and interest are.
Yeah,
Great
and so
story.
that's the one that I would point out.
And
But
that
I
there's
had-
always more to be done, right? You're never done.
Never done.
Okay, mine is so easy. This is a teacher that was with SUSD for about 33 years, currently retired. My first teacher, and that would be my sister, Lisa Crutchfield, who is currently on a cruise in Australia because she's retired. But she has always been my inspiration. She was like me. She always wanted to be a teacher. When she was first teaching and I was putting myself through school, we shared an apartment in an area of Tempe that is was not the greatest area, but that was okay. It was worth it to us because she was teaching at the old Anasazi. And at the time when I did my student teaching, she was teaching there, and I did my student teaching at the old Anasazi. And she inspires me in so many ways because of her passion for teaching, because of her love of her students. Her favorite was first grade, which good for her. And my favorite is middle school, and we actually taught together at Copper Ridge for a while, and we did cross-curricular with her first graders and my eighth graders, and it was the best time. It was so much fun. But she is, and I know she's my sister, but a lot of it was from her being a teacher. She always believed in me, and I really believe she's the reason I was able to scrimp and save and get that first degree. And she was the one that encouraged me to go back and get my master's. And she saw how much I loved leadership and how much I wanted to make a bigger impact and with teachers and with students. And I really feel like I owe it to her to be where I am now. She's amazing.
And I'm sure she's very proud of you as well.
She is.
So this was a great way to have our 50th episode celebrating Cocopah Middle School. We want to thank you for joining us
today. We got to
today.
be here for the 50th. That's really cool. When I got here, I thought it was going to be 51. I saw earlier that it was like the 50th, but I guess this was us.
This was us.
I didn't know
This
that.
was us.
That's
Best
awesome.
school, 50th.
Yeah,
Makes
I
sense.
like it. Yeah.
It's all you. So share it far and wide. And we hope that everyone out there listening enjoyed this episode and will tune in to listen to future episodes and pitch us ideas on our website, susd.org/spotlight.